Happy Wednesday to everybody. Hopefully, everybody has been enjoying these sort of calm and collected past couple of sessions in the market. And let's go ahead and get started. So, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets, and it is November 3rd, 2021. So, we're here. Today is Wednesday. The market is prepping for what has been known for a long period of time, which is the FOMC announcement and the eventual Fed chair minutes that will follow. Um, we will see what the market does with this information in hand. We've discussed some ideas this week about the possible reaction that could occur based on the analysis from 2013. And we've also talked about what could be affected if that same reaction occurs. We may see sort of a shorter term interest rate spike as the tapering will sort of force the bond market to potentially sell. And what we'll be watching for is some sort of technical signal of that actually occurring. Otherwise, we will start to form the thesis that maybe this has been somewhat priced in, or the market is simply rejecting some of the information at hand and moving forward without the same type of taper tantrum as it's known back in 2013. So that's all fine and good. I think if you are prepped for that event, then you've spent some of the past couple of days sort of forming some different opportunity plays, maybe some option hedging. You're looking to basically prepare yourself for something relatively binary. And if it doesn't occur, you can relinquish those hedges, basically move on with your normal trading procedure and look for the next opportunity and the next event to come. If you are not and you're more short-term trading, today might be a day where the market doesn't really move too much relative to that event. And when I say the market, I mean more or less the SPY. We have been slowly and steadily grinding higher, making higher highs and higher lows over the past couple of sessions. We really haven't seen any short opportunities, at least from a swing perspective. There was maybe a 1 or 2 day possibility as the market was pivoting near its previous highs. But as we've referred to before, markets making new swing highs are often not considered bearish until we see some sort of signal. And usually what we're looking for is a market that's grinding higher has the eventual potential to sort of pull back. And often these pullbacks are going to hit to some trend line, some moving average support, or basically just to test some previous areas of balance. In this case, if we're looking at a possible drawdown, I certainly would be looking at the swing high that was made after the major trend break that occurred back in September 20th. This area is still an area of contention, and I would say that the market really started to grind higher once we cleared this area. There was some notable sort of gap up impulses and some movement beforehand, but really the momentum or just the slow, steady move higher started near this area. Now, we've looked at all of our other markets prior as well. We know that the NASDAQ has been recovering and actually is in some degrees leading due to some of the larger market cap names going through some strong impulsive breakouts. The likes of Microsoft and Nvidia a bit more stable. And then, of course, Tesla with some of the gamma squeeze potential and the ultimate momentum that caused that stock to break very quickly to all-time highs. NASDAQ, of course, always looking at this larger channel. And you can see that we are coming close to that channel resistance once again. So perspective here is that the market may have a little bit more juice to get it back into that channel high. but the upside is starting to become less and less attractive. Essentially, if we see the same reaction as we've seen in the past at this channel, it has been 2 sell events so far, then we can think about not only profit taking, if you are long some NASDAQ stocks or just the QQQ in general, any of the NASDAQ products. But if we see a short signal, that could also be a possible area to fade. Once again, more conservative targets being found on the daily if this market does want to continue to churn higher. And we would need to see a more clear sell signal once we actually get here. It's very challenging to short into strength. And ultimately, the NASDAQ has been performing very well, albeit the volume is declining. Finally, our IWM breaking out, making new all-time highs. I believe this is something that is just getting started, but as we know, today's event may sort of change the landscape of this market. Ultimately, if you are happy with the IWM long, if you think hitting that high is enough of a target to prepare for today's volatility, today might be a day to either profit take or to hedge. And if you did not take the trade, the market may give us that eventual pullback, at which point we'll be looking at the moving averages once again, which acted as the first sort of entry signal on this potential breakout and TTM squeeze thesis. You'll notice here the daily squeeze is already well underway. And the weekly squeeze, while it has not fired, is starting to get more bullish momentum as we are breaking out. Now, all that said and done, markets are positioned very strong into this event, but that's not really the main topic I'd like to cover today. As we all know, the market gave us an event yesterday, basically something that we haven't seen in quite a while. And while there has been plenty of volatility across the market, the likes of Tesla squeezing to new highs, breaking many expectations on both performance along with option market expected moves. You'll know that Tesla came out of its earnings with a beat. In the following week, if we look at the expected move charted, this was a massive breach of that expected move, which had begun into its earnings announcement. And as of yesterday, we actually breached again the expected move, but have drawn back slightly. So be watching Tesla to see, one, can we return to the midpoint of the expected move for the week? Along with, is this a short-term sort of pullback signal? Tesla is starting to slowly gain less and less upside momentum. And yesterday was a possible pivot. As you'll notice, the top side of that candle was at the previous day close. We also have stocks like DWAC. DWAC, of course, sort of new to the market. We're seeing tons of volatility back and forth in the stock. But first couple of days, very notable performance, and ultimately lots of upside risks due to some of the halting that was occurring, essentially making it very challenging both to get in and to get out. But these stocks are pretty much done and gone. They have levels. You can trade the levels. You can look for opportunities, both long and short. But that's not the topic for today. The topic for today is what happened with CAR. Now, I've left up the expected move for CAR this week, just to kind of show how significant of a breach this was. So into CAR's earnings, which regardless of what the earnings were, yes, they beat. Yes, it maybe was a bit of a surprise to people. But that's not really what matters. What matters is what the option market was dictating the move to be. Market was saying that regardless of what comes out, we are expecting approximately about a $15 to $20 expected move. One way to see this, let's go back to the day prior to this event. And CAR does not necessarily have weekly options, but if we look at something like the 19th November series, and we see that there is about a $35 expected move. This is, of course, prior to yesterday, so this is before earnings. You bring that down into about a weekly perspective and just understand that all of the risk for earnings were captured in the closest option series for the most part, then you'll know that the expected move for that event was less than 35. And this study attempts to sort of define it by bringing it down into a weekly calculation. So CAR had its earnings. The stock obviously started to rally. And what makes this most interesting is not the performance of it to the upside, but the expansion of the expected move range, along with how significant of a breach this was. Last time we saw this was stocks like GameStop. That's the sort of, I would say, expansion that we're seeing. Whenever GameStop topped, at least topped so far, the market, at least in the option side, was pricing in about a $15 expected move on that week. Now, was that an accurate depiction of volatility? Probably not. GameStop had already started to breach out of its expected moves 2 weeks prior. The move was already beginning, and the marketplace was trying to play catch up. What happened on this week signifies how significant of a breach this was. When we're talking expected move, we're always thinking in terms of numbers of expansions. Basically, are we within the norm, plus or minus, in this case, $15? Or did we double it? Did we triple it? Did we quadruple it? 4 to 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, these massive, highly improbable events. And what often will occur is the more extended you get, the more volatile the upside becomes in both directions. The reason this is so dangerous for us as traders is, depending on how significant of a breach it is, the market dynamics behind options will facilitate hedging. If you joined us yesterday in the chat room, we covered how market makers facilitate hedging. And while I don't have enough time to cover it in that same amount of detail, the idea behind it is pretty simple. We go out and buy calls. We go out and buy puts. Clients buy and sell calls all the time in the option market. That gives us a delta-based position, basically a notional position relative to the number of shares that the option represents. So for at-the-money calls, normally you're going to see about a 0.5 delta, which translated to shares is like owning approximately 50 shares. Because remember, one contract equals 100 shares in notional value. So whenever the market starts to breach these expected moves, firms, people who sold us the calls in the first place, they are short those calls. For every buyer, there is a seller. I own a call. Someone else sold me that call. That position is open, and there's one-to-one parity on that position. If the market breaches outside of these expected moves, these firms, these market makers, have ways to protect themselves against risk. They do not necessarily want to be in a directional bias position at any time. And the way they facilitate that is if they have a directional bias, i.e., they are net negative in terms of a sold call, then they will go out to the market and buy a certain number of shares to mitigate that risk, basically to nullify the directional bias. What can happen is if the market continues to push, then market makers will have to continue to hedge, because if the calls in this case remain open, their delta exposure goes up. Same reason we go out to buy calls to make money and to profit as traders. We want our deltas to go up as the price of the stock goes up. That allows for the premium to increase. The pricing, of course, is interpreted as P&L. And then by selling, we are closing out that open interest position. But as a market maker, you simply have to facilitate liquidity. Your firm has to buy and sell whatever the market is dictating at the time. You are someone who doesn't have a directional bias. You're providing liquidity for all traders. And as we saw, whenever the market gets outside of these ranges, you will continue to hedge as the market moves in a certain favor, basically in a certain direction. So what made this so dangerous yesterday, and as we get back to CAR, is there was an event that occurred inside of the option market that hasn't been seen in quite a while. Not only did we breach outside of the expected move, but the option chain did not have any strikes available above the 260 print. You can see this with the open interest. This has been updated since yesterday, so they have opened more strikes. But as this market was pushing higher and people were starting to basically see blood in the water, we broke through 260, which means every single call that had ever been purchased on this stock was now in the money. And what happens when that occurs is the delta acceleration, basically the appreciation of your delta, the ability for the calls to gain that delta premium goes up drastically. You'll notice here, as I'm looking at closely at the money calls, let's do it with a normal stock like Apple. Your delta starts off relatively high at about 0.5 for at the money. Apple's trading at about 150 at the moment. It starts to increase as you go more in the money. As you get further and further, this basically gets to 1. It basically converges to 1 because of gamma. Gamma allows for delta to appreciate, and the gamma appreciation does slow as you get closer to 1. But think about how the stock is moving relative to this appreciation. Whenever all calls are intrinsically in the money, in the case of CAR, that was true for a period of time, then every single market maker who sold calls now has to buy anywhere from 50 to 100 shares of CAR for every dollar move that CAR makes. AKA, they have to hedge their upside risk because they sold the calls in the first place. Now, this dynamic is a bit more complex than what I'm illustrating here. It has a lot more to it. But if you can grasp that concept, you can understand how significant this was yesterday. You can understand that the marketplace was not even offering a way for other types of hedging strategies using options. There were no strikes above 260. So either you were trying to mitigate risk using shares, or you had different sort of more advanced spread strategies, at which point the market only gave you so many strikes to utilize. Now, as this perpetuated, we obviously did see more strikes open. I believe we opened up to 400 at one point. The market continued even higher than that. So the same event occurred at 400. And now we are looking at 800 strikes. So they basically doubled and then doubled again the amount of available strikes for this stock. And when we think about expected move, we're looking at CAR showing approximately a $15 expected move for the week. CAR did not make a $15 expected move. It made approximately from low to high 173 to 545. So we're looking at approximately a $300 move, give or take a couple of points. So perspective is important here. This is not normal. This is not regular behavior. This is obviously shorts caught in a bad position, the option market unable to facilitate covering mechanics, and massive amounts of delta hedging, which actually forced the stock higher. Basically, the market makers who help us trade are the ones that helped cause this spike because they had to. They had to hedge their risk. And the hedging stops whenever everything near the top side starts to unwind. Essentially, people are asking, how do you know when this is over? You don't really know until you see it. But at the end of the day, what happens is there becomes the imbalance to the top side. People want to take profits. People are finally closing out of those open interest positions. And ultimately, the market is expanding the implied volatility to a point where it actually doesn't become beneficial to buy into that momentum. And that's when, of course, the stock tops. And just like we saw to the upside, we can get the same dramatic moves to the downside. Now, as traders, people look at this as an opportunity. And if you are in a position to manage your risk, it can be. But people also don't like to think about the possible risk in trading a stock like this based on what's happening in the background. You need to understand as a trader that just because the stock is moving like this doesn't mean that you have to be in it. For one, if you are caught in a bad location, it can be very challenging to get out. Market has halted multiple times on this run. Imagine getting caught in 2 to 3 upside halts, thinking that 3 to 350 was the top. Imagine your broker coming in and saying, you know that 4 to 6 times margin that you've been getting on all of your trades? Yeah, sorry, we're going to take that away for CAR. So your, let's say, fully allocated position in CAR, sorry, we're going to have to sell half of it. I don't care if you're down 200 grand. I don't care if you're down basically, or even if you're in a good position, we're going to have to close your position. People don't think about that risk until it happens. So let's go into today and take a moment, at least before the market opens, to really and truly evaluate why we're here. Why are we traders in the first place? Why are we doing this? We're here to take calculated risk on tried and true, back-tested, proven strategies on stocks that are not broken. So understand that whether you knew about the option market whether you knew that brokers were going to start tightening the margin requirements near the highs and force people out of their positions, even if they were right. And ultimately, understand that there are more than just this stock doing this behavior. There are some big runners today. They started moving in after hours. They're going to be on our gappers watch list. Take calculated risk positions on any trade that you take. Do not be caught in the wrong side of a trade. And understand that if we see the same events in these stocks today, understand the same thing can occur. Just because it happened once doesn't mean that they've gotten control over this. There are multiple stocks that have that same potential today, and just understand what can occur. Know the risk and protect yourself accordingly. So, as we conclude today, and while I could probably sit on this conversation for a little bit longer than that, take that reflection time. Allow yourself to maybe meditate or just kind of take some introspective sort of time for yourself. Know that this market is giving tons of opportunity, but with that opportunity is risk. And the higher the opportunity, the higher the risk. And these are unforeseen risks, option risk, hedging risk, margin requirement risk, margin call risk, halt risk. These are all things we need to know, we need to prepare for. And if you're not prepared for it, expect some pain. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. I hope everybody trades successfully today. I hope things settle to a point where we can take calculated risks like normal. And I hope that everybody does well today with the FOMC and the volatility to come. But as always, trade safe, stay tuned for pre-market prep, and we'll talk more tomorrow.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hope you had an amazing day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good morning, Carlos. I am doing great. Just sitting in this morning as Norm has got big storms in his area and inconsistent power. So happy to be here with you. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. Yeah, hopefully he can get power soon. It sucks to be in that situation. All right, guys, let's get to it. Starting with our watch list yesterday, which again, what an interesting day it was. Let's start right with the one that really caused a lot of excitement for us yesterday morning, guys. CAR here was just insane. How can we describe this thing? We didn't have it on watch. There was nothing going on in the pre-market. Not something you will have on deck. And then at the market open, this thing just decides it's going to go from 175 at the open, roughly, to 560. Man, what a ride this was. Scary. I was looking at some of these pullbacks. They were $100 pullbacks, $50 pullbacks, halt on the way down, halting on the way back up. It's just had everything a risky stock will have in place. So hopefully, if you did trade this thing, you were very careful your share size, and you're able to survive and are able to trade this morning, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people that this morning are won't be able to trade because they either blew up their account, took too big of a risk, never thought this thing was going to reach as high as they did, right? And are hurting this morning. So the best thing we can tell you is, hopefully you learn. It's a painful lesson, but hopefully you learn something from it going forward that makes you a better trader. So it's not the end of the world. I know it's painful, it hurts, but you can come on the other side if you did get stuck on this one, which is brutal. There's Andrew's recap as well. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just saying, and there's a great warning in that, exactly as you're saying, Carlos. If you take the social media, of course, so many people were talking about it, but even some very experienced traders who, suffered their biggest losses ever on this because the move was so unexpected and so out of the ordinary that, you can look at it and say, oh my God, what a great opportunity. And we get that FOMO we like to talk about, that fear of missing out. But
Yep.
you know what? Better to sit and watch these and learn from them than to take the risk sometimes. Because, like you said, those pullbacks were violent. Like, you could easily look at it and say, if I just got in at 300, I could have made 200 bucks off of it, but you might have had an $80 pullback in the meantime, which you might not have survived. So it's never as easy as it looks in hindsight on the chart. Best to just sit back and watch. I didn't trade it, and I don't regret it for a second.
Yeah, agree 100%. And guys, and again, if pros are having issues with this, because imagine us are not at that level, right? At that very high level, it's just brutal. Um, all right, guys, let's get to it here. Let's look at our watch list from yesterday. CAR was obviously one of them, but here we had OCGN on our list yesterday. It did get going in the morning. Again, this stock is, the volume is there, the pop is there. It just hasn't been, I don't know, it's just been difficult to trade. It does give you a continuation over to 1641, and then you get this drop around 1230. It just comes out of nowhere. Not sure what caused this here, but look at this insane drop. Wasn't trading at this time already, and drops here, drops down some more. Again, definitely something going on. They're trading 16 million shares this morning already, and they're already up 4.2. So again, this thing has been very active. We'll keep track of it. Here's Lucid yesterday, just pure chop, guys. Not much going on here. Every candle overlapping the previous candle, as you can see here. So again, nothing fun happening there. Next, we had Neo. Neo also had an initial pop like it did yesterday as well. The day before, this initial pop right on here that takes off nicely all the way to 42. Then from there, does nothing for the later part of the day. Again, we've seen this from Neo twice already. Did it yesterday and the day before. Here is Plug. Plug, again, hit or miss stock. Had great volume, great pre-market action. Huge drop here, but no continuation for like a 5 minute. You had to get this one in really quick for a breakdown here. Does recover, gets above the VWAP. It gets just difficult to find patterns on Plug, which is something we struggle with sometimes on Plug here. Apple was real nice, guys. This is real nice. It took off here nicely. Beautiful continuation. Does give you a little bit of an aggressive pullback more than what you like to see, as it does lose the VWAP and some of the moving averages, and usually that's not a good sign for something that wants to stay strong. It manages to come back above the VWAP, and look at this continuation play here on Apple, just very, very nice yesterday. So again, I had a lot going on it. Did trade very well. Tesla here, I didn't watch the price action much on this one. Again, it's just one that continues to break all-time highs. It did do that yesterday. Again, they're going to 1210. Again, just crazy right now, the way this thing is pulling back. Look at this pullback here, how deep that is. Goes back up almost to 1210 again, and then right back down. So I had it on my list, not really more to trade it, because I know around this price range is getting a little bit more difficult as it tries to figure out what's next, but definitely fun to watch, I gotta say that. All right, with that said, guys, let's get over to our market pulse, and what do we have going on for today? Peter, you're on mute, and
I am on mute and talking to myself. As Jared covered most of it, and some good introspective analysis of the markets there. We won't go over that again. However, we as Carlos mentioned, the markets seem to be getting exciting now, and you've got offerings that are providing opportunity. We're going to talk about another one in Bed Bath & Beyond a little bit later, because it's on our gappers list. But just be careful out there, because the markets are heating up, which means we've got increased volume, and that means a little bit of generalized increased volatility. I love trading this time of year because it provides opportunity, but you've got to be cautious. In terms of major announcements today, the only thing that's coming out, well, the only thing that probably might matter, I think, to the markets is this the employment report, which actually I'm just seeing the numbers now. It looks like the forecast was at 395,000 new jobs, and it came out at a little over 500,000. So that's good news for the markets. Might give us a little lift, because the SPY has been trending down so far this morning. But it doesn't matter if it's trending down. Look at what we've been doing, as Carlos has on the screen here, over the last month, basically. We're in another one of these bull rallies, so we keep seeing, this market, you can't keep it down. It just keeps going up. We get these pullbacks, and then we go and set some new highs. So, I'm expecting some good price action, some good volume in the markets that we should be able to take advantage of. And we've got a big gappers list because there's a lot of earnings. So let's get right to that.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Peter, for that. All right, let's get to it. All right. Oh, hold on. Let me link my trade ideas. Let's do that here as we are getting into our gappers list. So let's go ahead and link that up so we can quickly tag our numbers here. So we'll do that there, hit OK, and we should be good to go. Excellent. All right, let's get to it, guys. Let's remove our list here from yesterday. Control A, Control X, and that does that. Here it is, BBBY, guys, leading the way on the gap up list this morning. BBBY, they have a very high short interest as well. TI has them at 45, and today they're gapping up 50%. Peter, what is the news this morning? Obviously, last night earnings, I assume.
So there's actually a combination of factors going on here on BBBY. If you look back yesterday, as well, I guess as you showed, there was a huge jump on it, which was mostly a factor of the fact that they announced there's a new deal with Kroger that they've engaged in. But the company has been engaged in a share buyback, which they were accelerating. That, in turn, caused a short squeeze. So that combination of things really is what's driving it up more than any other factor. So I think there's going to be some continued excitement in BBBY today. Well, there it goes, but that 80% run up yesterday is we'll see if it pulls back or if it keeps going.
Yep, definitely will be interesting, guys. We'll have this one on deck, guys. Very active this morning. 8 million shares traded, up 50%. Here is Lyft. They're up huge as well. Another 14% here, 448,000. So they are definitely in play. Also started to get going last night. Earnings as well for Lyft.
Yeah, that is definitely earnings. They had some good numbers, and they're saying how the drivers are coming back and their business is picking up. So that's got the whole industry moving. You'll also see on the list we've got Uber, and that's really seems to be just a sympathy play for Lyft.
Yeah, and these are difficult to trade, guys. They don't trade very well. They don't trade very clean as far as intraday trading. I'm just gonna keep Lyft on here. I won't put Uber, but we'll think about Uber when we see Lyft there as well. I'm sure. CPRI this morning, they are up 11%, guys. 147,000. I don't like the pre-market action on this one as much. Peter, any news that we should be aware of this, or also the daily, very low in volume. Um, not sure it's popping them up this morning. Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
Pre-market earnings.
yeah, it's earnings on this one, and they had a raise their outlook, beat their numbers. But you know what? Beating your numbers doesn't necessarily mean your stock's going to go up. We'll talk
Mhm.
about an example of that in a minute. But yeah, they've had some good.
Absolutely. Guys, I don't like the pre-market action on this one. The daily also doesn't look great. I think we can find something better to trade here. Here's a LMND. This one's also up 7%. This is Lemonade. We've seen this on our list before, guys. Again, it's just another one of these stocks that's difficult to trade. Very light volume for the most part right now. We're going to skip on that one. Uber, we have Lyft already on here. We'll keep an eye on that one. OCGN, I'm going to add, guys. This thing continues to be a very, very active, incredible volume. Not the best intraday trading, but it's been very explosive. I'm just hoping that we can get some kind of clean trading in this uptrend that we've been in the last couple of days. I mean, we have 18 million shares traded here, guys, up 5.2. Something's good got to come out of this one of these days here. We'll keep that one on deck. AMC is here this morning. They are up 4.7. Here we go. That's the volume we like to see. 1.2 million in the pre-market already. That is nice. We'll throw this one on here. And Peter, if there's any significant news on any of these, definitely cut me off and let me know. I know for AMC, their earnings
Yeah.
is 9 to the 8th. So they're getting a little bit of action early on this.
Yeah,
Uh,
and while you're right, there's really no big news coming out on AMC, but AMC and GME, I've got to give a nod to Jared. He's had his eye on these all week, ever since last week when he said expect to see some action as they increase, and he called it on AMC. It's one of his favorites to trade, so he keeps a close eye on it, and he certainly has shown that it's been going up. So over the last few days, and I expect continued action today.
Yeah, looking very good here this morning, guys. We'll keep an eye on that one. And we're going to stop here because the list goes on. But we'll stop here on what's gapping up. Let's see what's gapping down. U1 down 37%. We've seen this on our list before. Not a great trading stock. They're down pretty heavy today, 930,000. What's the low flow sitting at 8 million? Peter, what's the latest and greatest on this one?
Yeah, you're right. This only pops up sort of every earnings quarter, it seems like, and it's got a very low float. It's a tough one to trade. I never find a
Mhm.
good trade opportunity. I don't. I thought it was earnings, but I'm not seeing the earnings news I was expecting on it. So let me just give you one more check.
Uh, Tomorrow they have pre-market earnings. So
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
see maybe this. I don't see specific news unless it's just people positioning for earnings, but no reason why it's jumping today or
Yeah.
dropping, I should say today.
All right, we have it here again. Great pre-market action. It's just difficult on this one. It's a lower flow, and we've seen it trade pretty poorly in the past. Here's OLB this morning. They are down 23%, 900,000 shares traded. Had a big day yesterday, and now they're just kind of slamming down. You could tell this stock doesn't trade very well. You can tell by the pre-market action here, the way these candles are forming. You can tell also by the daily. Had insane volume yesterday. But obviously our eyes were on CAR and not this one. Let's see what it actually did. The big pop seems to have taken place. Is this
So,
pre-market? Pre-market pop here? Yeah, it is.
well, they were sort of Brian's fun trader of the day. I think it was yesterday when he was keeping an eye
Nice.
on it. If you remember, they had news a few days ago where they are going to be the cryptocurrency processor for Mastercard. That's what
Yes,
caused
yes.
this thing to jump. Right? It is a tough trader. It's pretty choppy. I didn't like the look of it, frankly, intraday. They've immediately taken advantage of this price increase, though, and announced a private placement. So basically, they're making some money off the market, which of course dilutes the value of shares, which is why you're seeing it on the gap down list this morning.
Yeah, not typically great news. That explains the volume here, 902,000 shares traded, but not a good one. We'll skip on that one. Here is Z this morning. Zillow, they are, wow, Wow, Zillow is getting killed, man. They are down another 14%. Back-to-back
Yeah.
red days here and not starting off so good this morning. What's the deal here?
So they're getting killed over the last few days. So they have, I mean, they've had earnings, really bad numbers. More importantly, part of their business model had been a home buyback, I guess, plan. They would buy your home and basically try and flip it, and they just shut down that
Hmm.
business, having lost over $300 million on it, and had to liquidate
Ouch.
over 7,000 homes. So they basically got caught at the top of the market with a bunch of inventory that they couldn't sell for profit. So they decided that's not a good part of their business model, and they're doing a little bit of a strategic pivot. So as you can see, the market is telling them what they think of that move.
Yeah, not someone's definitely getting fired who brought up that idea. No good there, man. Down 14% this morning, 2.2 million. This one trades a little funky at times, but I think it's worth watching, even at least as a possible. Guys, it can be very
Yeah.
difficult to trade this one, but again, they're up, they're down nicely with 2 million shares traded.
Yeah, it's one. Keep in mind, there's two tickers on this,
Hmm.
Z and ZG, or Z and ZG. Anyway, so we see them both on the list. Usually, it's ZZ that trades the better of the two with more volume. So that would be the one I would keep an eye on.
Yep. We'll keep Z on here, guys. I'm gonna keep it down at as a paso for now. If we don't find anything better, we can move it up, but they can be a little funky at times. Here's a ATVI this morning, and they are down 13%. It's funny. We only see this one when there's earnings, right? Outside of that, we don't hear from the stock at all. Um,
Yep, it's. I think I can remember one time in the last 4 years where it actually traded well for a couple of weeks. But
yeah,
you're right.
yeah.
It shows up. Probably only about twice a year. I would say every second
Hmm.
earnings seems to be important. This is the one of
Yep.
the ones that people look for. They're heading into their busy season. That being said, they had a flat earnings quarter. Their user growth was flat, and they've had significant delays in a number of their game titles.
Mm,
So that leads to concern because this is their big time of year, right? This is when they
right.
release games for the holiday season,
Hmm.
and the next quarter is usually the one where they get their momentum. So a delay in title release means they may not have that momentum going into the holiday season. That being said, when I watch my hockey at night, they've been advertising like heck on TV about their Call of Duty and where they make a lot of their money off of. So we'll
Yeah,
see
yeah.
how their earnings go. But for today, yeah, people are, as you can tell, pretty bearish on the stock.
Yes, they are. I'm going to add this one on here, guys. 1 million shares traded, down 13%. It's looking pretty good. ATVI, looking good in the pre-market. It can trade a bit funky, but today that's a great catalyst, and it's looking good as far as volume. Let's look at CAR today. They are down 10%, 256,000. This is purely entertainment purposes for me. So I'm going to put that one on here. Again, I don't have no plans of touching this at all. We do have shares for short here. Again, just entertainment purposes, guys. We saw what this thing can do on here. And it's funny, as it was moving up yesterday, there was a spot where there was a pullback. There was like a $50 pullback right on here. We're watching this. This comes down and pulls back to like, what is this, from 360 down to like 310. And I'm like, can this be a $50 pullback? And it was. It went right back up, and look at that there. So again, it's just messy. Be very, very careful, guys, if you're touching this thing. Today might just be pure chop. I think after this a crazy move, a lot of technical damage has been done on this thing. We'll have to see how it's going to play out. But entertainment purposes only, so I'll put it down here in the low flow risky pile. No plans of trading that one. BCRX this morning, they're down 8.2. Horrible daily, horrible pre-market action. I'm going to pass on this one, guys, today. All right, let's stop here. I'm just going to look at fuel cell because I know that one can be pretty nice here. And they're down 3.8, 487,000. They're okay, not great. Peter, anything you like on your end this morning that we haven't touched on?
A couple of other earnings just to be aware of. CVS had their earnings. They usually trade very poorly pre-market,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they beat their numbers, increased guidance. They were gapping down earlier, but I noticed in the last 20 minutes they've had a big jump up here. So it may be a trade at the open. It can be tough though. It's a NYSE stock, which just means that it can trade, not as smoothly as you would like. But I'll keep an eye on that, anyways. T-Mobile, TMUS, also had earnings. They generally missed their numbers and had lowered guidance. So again, another example of one that doesn't trade well pre-market, but once the market's open, it always gets volume. And two more earnings. Discovery, DISCA. Normally we don't trade 5-letter tickers, but this is one of the anomalies that every once in a while I'll keep an eye on it. But it is not a SPAC; it's a real company. So, yeah, that's another earnings play. Again, nothing going pre-market. And the last but not least, one of our old favorites, Norwegian Cruise Lines, NCLH. So the rest of the cruise lines, I think, come out later. I think they're the first ones. They missed their numbers, but they're doing I've noticed this out of the cruise lines. They keep saying we're going to return to profitability soon, right? So they keep setting that expectation, which I think is helping keep the stock a little bit stable. But they definitely missed their numbers and again lost money in the last quarter. So might be worth watching that. Travel industry, which has been moving. We haven't talked a lot about it, but Boeing has had some good moves over the last little while. Never sort of gapped pre-market, but then it moves fairly well during the day, as well as the airlines. So airlines and cruise lines will be something I'll just keeping a side eye to.
Yeah, I agree. We had so much fun with these guys in the past. I'm going to add BA on here, and American Airlines, what we got going on here? Not much right now. We'll keep a close eye on that one if it hits the scanners. Guys, let's take it to the room, see what you guys have this morning, starting with, who do we have here? Here we go. Let's take a look over at Edwin. I see Lucid on both sides of the field. Also mentioned here by 125 Trade. So let's take a look at LCID Lucid. Yeah, I think this is a good one to watch, guys. Was, again, very active yesterday. Pre-market, not pre-market, but the pre-market was great. At the open, just messy this first hour or so, hour and a half. Just did not know what it wanted to do here. Then it gets into a nice flow here. You have to be patient with this one. And you got a beautiful breakout back towards the high of the day. So the range is great. Just the start of this one was pretty messy. You got to be patient with this one. This morning, they have great volume, 701,000. They're down 3%. Their daily, very interesting. We had this initial pop. From then, it has been pretty... I would say bullish. They're trying to hold. Bearish is trying to hold here. Let's see if they can do that. But again, down again 3% this morning. So I'll add it on here. I think they're worth watching. Hopefully we can get a better open than what we did yesterday. AMD. Oh, I missed a few. Let's go back up. Mara. Mara hasn't been hasn't been great lately. I didn't have it on my list yesterday, but yesterday looked like it was decent. Yesterday was decent. A couple of days before that hasn't done much. So we got a nice little pop on them yesterday. This morning they're dropping. Anything going on with Bitcoin? I see this drop starting to come in here with some okay volume for the pre-market. Put it as a possible. We'll come back to that. See if there's anything happening in the Bitcoin world that we need to be in tune on. Here we have. Can we look at BEST? BEST is a ticker. BEST. No, we cannot look at this. This is this is pretty bad. Look at this. Look at this. What would you call this, Peter? What is this? AMD. This pretty flat on AMD this morning, Peter. Does that mean anything for you, Peter, at all? For our AMD.
AMD actually, the pre-market for the last 2 weeks has really been very poor, but then it does great once the open hits. So, I always keep an eye on it. I almost always find a trading opportunity, so I don't mind watching it. But yeah, right now doesn't look fantastic.
Yeah,
and to that, guys, there are tons of tickers. I know you're mentioning. We're not going to get to all of them because there's a lot moving. Like I said, right, we're in a good time for the markets with the increased volume, Plug and Riot, and like we said, Lucid. All of the stuff is moving almost every single day. So there's lots of stuff to watch out there.
Yeah, there sure is, guys. We'll do a few more here in the chat, then we'll go over to YouTube. Let's look at Futu. I see both for that one on both sides here. Futu is actually moving. We got a nice move here, up 7.7 right now. It's almost 700,000 shares trade. What I like about this one is the possible breakout of this area. We're slightly above that now. We've been stuck in this consolidation range for some time. Could today be the day that we break out of this one? That's a good one. Let's put Futu right on here. BBBY, guys, we do have, that's top of our list. That's definitely in play. LANA this morning. No, more of a penny stock. So not Yes, sitting at not yet. So you got some action on it, up 30%, but more of a penny stock. So I'm not really a trader of that one. Mara, we looked at BBBY. We have good Futu's on deck. Yeah, guys, that's looking very good. Okay, excellent. I have Mara. I don't have Riot. Is Riot looking any better? I see a couple of people throwing out Riot. They both look about the same. Yeah, about the same. So I have Mara on here. They tend to have a little bit a better price action at times, but you can't go wrong with both of them. I see Riot has more volume today, so maybe they would be the ones in play. Let's take a look over at YouTube. U1 we have on here. So U1 is on there for sure. That's in play. Futu we do have. PROG. PROG. What is going on with PROG? It's messy. Pre-market is messy. 1.1 million shares traded. Let's take a look at what the price, what the flow is on this one. It's 103 million, so it's not a low flow stock. Daily looks, I don't know, something about this stock just doesn't look good. Daily looks messy. Pre-market looks a little messy as well. I think I'm going to pass on this one, guys. I think we can find better stocks to look at, right? So even if that was in play, I think there's things that are better out there. Riot is good. Matter is also dropping as well. CHIB. CHIB. What is this one? I don't think we ever pulled this one up. Just double check that ticker. That's not coming up. We have your best is good. We have that. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, let's go over to community announcements and events. We'll come back and fine tune this list. As Peter, as you mentioned, there's a whole lot out there that we can trade today. It's just a lot of stuff in place. So we have to be picky and patient for sure.
Okay, well let's get to our announcements, and we got a lot going on here as always at Bear Bull Traders. And before I get into some of our specific events, just want to give a shout out to all of our new members and friends that have joined from Ed Martin's group, Average Joe Trader. We've got a small account chat room, so now we actually have 2 chat rooms going. How to trade a small account. You can join us and join that chat room at the same time. You can take advantage of all the stuff we do on a regular basis here in the main chat room. So happy to have Ed and his members here now. For webinars this week on the strategy side, last night we had Kyle's. Whoop, you're moving ahead of me there a little too fast. But anyways, we had Kyle's webinar, and if you missed that, it is always recorded and it will be posted into our education center. And then next week, we'll have Mike, who's going to be presenting how to find your trading strategy and meet your goals. Obviously, something we all want to know, but he's going to give you some specific direction and tips on how to accomplish that. And now to the psychology side. Thanks, Carlos. Tonight, we have Dr. Kenneth Reed, who's back with us talking about basic market dynamics. So the 2 things he's going to be focusing on are mean reversion and trend management. So talk about how those factors, sort of take effect in the market and how you can take advantage of them. So that's at 8 o'clock, once again in our webinar room. And then next week, we have Kreda, always popular with her Money Mindset series. She's going to be talking specifically about how to build a $1 million mindset and how you can think big to take advantage of your trading career. So that's at an earlier time. Keep in mind when Kreda is on, because of where she is in the world, those are at 5 p.m. So that's going to be 5 p.m. November 10th. And as we've been mentioning, we always donate any of the super chats that you give to us off of YouTube to a charity of our choice. There's a different charity every month. This month it is the Fisher Center for Alzheimer's Research. So all of the donations will go there. And as a team, we will be matching that. So you get double power for every dollar that you donate. We appreciate anybody who makes a super chat donation. And that goes right to a good cause. So thank you so much for those. If you want to be recognized for your trades as a member, you can take advantage of our member trade of the day. The member trade of the day sort of recognizes some of the great trades out there and gives you a chance to showcase, the success that you've had. We only ask that it's a real live trade and a live account. Go to your Twitter account and use the tags that you've got there and the hashtags listed, and Mike will take a look through them, and he always picks what he thinks is the best for the trade of the day. Then as a team, we vote on the trade of the week. You get eternal bragging rights. for having been a trade of the week. So you want to sort of submit your trades for that. And we appreciate everybody who submits their trades every single day. We have a lot of fun towards the close when we get to talk about who was selected as the trade of the day and review the great trade that they had. If you want to join us, there's always an opportunity to join us. We love seeing the new members into the room. Hey, if you're a new member, by the way, say hi, and we can say hi back. But you can join us for a 1-week trial. So if you're on YouTube and you're not sure, you can join for a 1-week trial. We promise, like, there'll be no follow-up. We don't market the heck out of you. Really, it's just give it a shot, see if the room's for you. If it is, then you can join using the code PREMARKET24, and that'll get you a discounted rate off of our test drive. You get access to our onboarding classes as well as the chat room. If you like it, then you can join as a full member and get access to all of our training material, all of our mentorship activities. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, and we can see there's a lot of people that join us all the time. So hello to Cedric, Dallas, Fred, Morgan, RFG, all who have joined recently are saying hi within, Big Mike, all saying hi within the chat room. So welcome. And if you do decide to join us as a sort of a long-term or permanent member, Carlos, do we have, you can go to our website and take advantage of, again, our elite membership, which gives you access to everything. Once you're an elite member, there's no extras, no add-ons, no extra fees or charges. You get access to all of our material. So hopefully we'll see you in the chat room sometime soon. So let's get to those levels, because we mentioned, man, there is a ton of stuff. But wait, I forgot. It's Wednesday, because I'm not usually here, but Creta's always here on Wednesday. Creta, how are you today?
Good, thanks, Peter. Always here. Great to see you.
You are.
Okay.
I had to see your face go up, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting something." So, what are we talking about today?
How could you forget me, Peter? We're talking about creativity.
Oh, I'm not usually here. I've last minute things. So my apologies.
I'm just kidding. We're talking about resilience for this month, so you're showing good resilience stepping in last minute there. So kudos.
There you go.
But creativity. Creativity is our topic today. Just before I jump into that, quick announcement. We're really interested to hear your thoughts, ideas, the topics that you want to know more about for the Mental Edge series. So for these talks on a Monday and Wednesday. So on my Twitter account, there's a tweet out there, and you can reply to that message thread just telling us what you'd like to hear more about. So you can determine the topics that we talk about in this series. And it's Creda_perform. So CREDE_perform. And I think Norman Carlos have retweeted anyway. So just a quick announcement. We want to hear what you want to know more about. And moving on then to our topic today, which is creativity and why it's so underrated. So when we're talking about creativity, we're just talking about the ability to actually generate new and novel, useful ideas and then bring them into existence. But people tend to associate creativity with things like art, music, dance, those endeavors that, some people are highly skilled in, but a lot of people are not. And so people tend to dissociate a little bit from the idea of creativity. But when we go back to that definition and we think that it's actually just about creating new, useful ideas, then we can understand that creativity is anything from a particularly good play in sport to writing to cooking, and then even the most scientific of endeavors, actually astrophysics and NASA putting together a mission to take people from Earth into outer space and back safely. That could be considered creativity. And that challenges the popular belief that science and creativity are two distinct and separate things. So just to say that the reason why this happens, or why people tend to think of creativity as something that's not really for them, it has a lot to do with the way that society, or our society currently, programs things. And so our society tends to favor what we typically know as left brain tasks. It's not that simple in terms of neuroscience, but let's just frame it like that for now. So left brain tasks are things like critical analysis, verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, maths, all of those type of activities that require a lot of concentration, focus, and are taught as subjects in school, or in the subjects that we experience in school. And even the education system itself prioritizes this idea of performing well against set standards and, even rote memory. So I know at least in Ireland, the education system relies heavily on being able to actually memorize things and then regurgitate it. So that doesn't exactly lend itself to developing creativity. But the good news is that everybody is actually creative inherently. So you're born with the capacity to be creative. But sometimes people get the idea that they're not creative. So maybe it's not one of their natural skills that comes easy to them. So they think that it's just something that's not accessible to them. And then they don't engage in any creative pursuits. But that's actually a really mistaken way of looking at it, because it's like a muscle. So the more that you engage in creativity, the more that you'll actually build your creative muscle, and the more that you'll be able to benefit from doing creative pursuits. And there's lots of benefits, which we'll talk about in a second. So, and then the other side of it is that sometimes people are actually creative and they recognize this, but because they need to, or they believe they need to prioritize more left brain tasks in order to be successful, then they don't give themselves permission to engage in creative pursuits. And the reason, or one of the reasons for this, is that creativity and creative pursuits sometimes can't be measured against a standard. So if you think of a painting, it's very subjective if somebody thinks the painting is nice or not. And so, especially in trading, where a lot of people are that A-type personality, very driven, probably male-dominated industry, and fair to say that people prioritize the idea of critical analysis and this left brain mode of thinking. And people are very driven to achieve high standards and high goals. And so they tend to favor the left brain thinking, because it's very hard to engage in a creative pursuit for that type of personality and know that there may not be an outcome at the end of it that's going to get you closer to your goals. So people deprioritize spending time on creativity because it's nearly seen as an indulgence. And so people who identify as creative, so they know that they have that and they've tapped into that capacity, sometimes they don't allow themselves time to actually indulge in it or give themselves permission to take that time out of their day to do creative pursuits that don't necessarily achieve a specific outcome. But that's a real shame, because creativity is actually a really important skill and trait for us to nurture, because it can bring a lot of benefits. And specifically in trading, it can bring us benefits in terms of actually allowing us to see new patterns in the market and to be able to come up with new ways of approaching strategy formation. So in the brain, what happens when you're engaging in creativity is that you're linking different parts of your brain together that don't normally work in conjunction with each other. So creativity is actually about forming connections between existing ideas and information and concepts to produce new and novel ideas. And so if you give yourself the space and time to allow those connections to form, you're going to come up with really effective ideas, and you're going to actually have better problem solving skills. So there's very practical benefits to engaging in creativity and to nurturing this brain activity that will produce these results for you. So another aspect of creativity is that it aids your resilience. And so I was laughing with Peter there, so I'm going to guess he has some creativity there, who was able to come in last minute and take over. So being able to thrive under adversity and pressure. So if you think about the pandemic as well, there were some businesses that absolutely jumped on the opportunity to solve a problem for people. So when there was a lack of hand sanitizer, distilleries jumped in, and with and some, I think, perfume companies as well, with their existing materials, they were able to create hand sanitizer quickly and solve a huge global problem. So that was using creativity. So it's a really helpful and productive skill to have and to nurture. So let's talk very briefly about how you nurture it. You can't become creative and engage in creativity using the same kind of environment and thinking that you do for analytical tasks or left brain tasks. So if you want to nurture your creativity, you need to create space and time for yourself to actually relax your brain, relax your body, and let ideas come to you. Let these concepts form together. So some ways that you can practically do that are, if you want to address a task or a problem and you want to find an innovative solution to it, then actually moving away from your desk, getting out of your home office if that's where you work, going to a coffee shop to change your environment, to give yourself that space, that can actually help you to start sparking creativity. There's research as well to say that being out in nature can help your creative process. So actually going for walks, it doesn't mean you have to go for a hike up a mountain, but if you just spend 25 minutes, I think the research says, in green spaces, even in an urban environment, that will spark your creativity. So there's a few things that you can do to create that time and space for yourself, but then it's about being consistent as well. So you need to actually devote time to doing this every day. So I'd recommend that even if you consciously take 5 minutes every day to do something creative that doesn't necessarily have a tangible, useful outcome in terms of hitting your goals, you'll start to develop this creativity muscle, and then you'll see the benefits in your trading and in your life.
You know, I was reading a book this weekend about trading, and from a professional trader, and Creta, that's exactly what they were talking about as well, how the most successful traders are usually those that have a creative outlet and actively engage in it on a regular basis, because they can't always directly use that within the trading environment, but indirectly, trading is all about creativity. It's about finding existing patterns and creatively recognizing and putting them together in a new way such that you create an edge. We talk about the trading edge. Well, where does the edge come from? Only if you're able to sort of be creative and see things differently or in a way that hasn't been accessed regularly before. So thank you so much for that. Some great thoughts and something for us all to do. Get outside, everybody. Don't sit in front of your monitors all day. Thanks, Creta.
Thanks, Peter. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Creta. Appreciate you very much for that. Guys, give thumbs up over on YouTube for that amazing session there. And let's get to it. All right, here's what we have. I kind of fine-tuned this a little bit while we're in the background there. I got BB, BY, OCGN, AMC, ATVI, and also Lucid this morning. So let's start with BB, BY, guys. We're going to do some levels here, starting with the low of the pre-market sitting at 24.50. The high of the pre-market on this one sitting at 29.30. So again, this one looking very good right now, very active, 50% gap up today. So that should be exciting. Here, going to the left, our price action right now, the price sitting at a level of support and resistance. So I'm going to mark that down there, 26.30. And you can see already in the pre-market, you are getting some play right around that level. So that is good. Above this high of the pre-market, which you can also see has been an area where this stock loves to hang around at. You can see a couple of days slamming up against that, more on the resistance than anything. So that's good there. Slightly above that, we do have the best one's going to be this one here, 31.50. 52, so we'll slam a level there. And obviously we got a couple up here. I'm going to do 33.29. We'll do this one, and we'll do this one for the heck of it, but we'll stop there because that'll be a big move if we can get all the way up there. Towards the bottom, below 24.50, we have one I'm going to mark down. It's this one here. And then the most recent is going to be this huge gap down that we had in October. But I'm just going to put this one down, 22.19. If we do fall below that, we can always add some more levels there. So looking pretty good right now. Very active pre-market action. Let's see if this is going to trade well this morning. OCGN, guys, very active. Again, it's just a rough start yesterday. Hopefully it can be better today. 1880 is your high of your pre-market. Low of the pre-market, pretty much below the highs and lows of the last two trading days. Previous day close on here towards the bottom as well. Are doing a pretty good job. I don't think you need to add anything else on the downside, guys. You're pretty much set there. Above 1878, do we have anything here? What's going on in this area? Yes, we do. Oh, actually, no, we don't. Not at least most recent. That is that the all-time highs for this? I want to say yes, and yes, it is, or maybe not. Well, at least 52-week high, and yes, it is your all-time high. So this is now becoming even more exciting, guys. So then 1878, your all-time highs right there. That is looking pretty good there at OCGN. We'll see. Great pre-market action, very active. Hoping that this great pre-market action can translate to the market open. Here is a AMC, guys. Again, pretty active, 1.8 million shares traded right now. High of the pre-market, we're sitting at a 42.01. Towards the bottom, low of the pre-market, we're sitting... Here, stop right there. Low of the pre-market, 40.27. We'll slam a level there. Below that, guys, highs and lows from the last two trading days are doing a pretty good job taking care of you there. And then towards the top, guys, 43.98 looks pretty good this morning. But They are very active this morning. Great volume. Looking forward to some good stuff out of them. We haven't seen something great in a couple of days from them. So let's see if today is going to be the day. The volume is definitely there. ATBI has news here, and they're gapping down 13.4. Again, not a good look for them right now, but they're definitely in play. Typically not the best intraday trading stock, but this morning, hopefully we can get some action out of these guys. 69.52, high of the pre-market, low of the pre-market, 66.77. I also like this 67.86 level in here as well. You can see some action in the pre-market as well around that area. Towards the top, guys, if we are going to try to close this gap a little bit, maybe if we're having some kind of overreaction, which tends to happen quite often when you have such a big drop like this, 72.20 seems to be an area on the daily where you have some support there. And I just want to level towards the bottom if we even have anything. We haven't been here in so long. Looks like we might be going back to here we go, 2020 maybe. Yeah, 2020 towards the bottom. I'm going to take this level here. I'm not going to zoom in for the sake of time, but 65.14 seems to be an area on the daily where you're getting a little bit of action there as well. Look at this 66.77, by the way. Look how great that's playing here as far as the level when you go back into that May of 2020. All right, so that is ATBI. Lucid is the last one on our list. And this one here, guys, let's just zoom into today's action. Whoa, no, not what we want. There we go. Lucid, and then to today's action. This is probably one of the weakest ones right now on our list. Everything else looks pretty good, but low of the pre-market, 33.85. I do like this drop here for a possible continuation. Again, the fun might be over a little bit here. We're getting some little bit of weakness here after such a big move there. So maybe there's some more downside to this one. 33.85, low of the pre-market. Highs and lows from the last two trading days towards the top there. You can mark down the high of the pre-market here at 34.89, and I think you're pretty much set on this one. Towards the bottom, you can come into this intraday day here and see where you have areas of support and resistance. I'm not going to do it now, but you can look back in here and see where you can find some levels on here that can play nicely here as we continue to drop, hopefully into this area down below there. So guys, that is our list today. BBBY, OCGN, AMC, ATBI, and Lucid. Let's go over our moderators lineup quickly, but if Andrew's ready to go, we can continue only on YouTube. Since you guys can already see the moderators lineup, you don't need me to read it out to you. But while he is setting up, if he's not ready to go yet, let's go ahead and bring our moderators lineup over to you guys over on YouTube. And as I am doing this, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. It does help out a ton, so we appreciate that very, very much. Here is our list, starting with Simon. Well, actually, Eamon, 2 on his list, long PFE, short potential INTC. And Simon is looking at INTC, Open, BABA, and Snap, a couple of key levels for him there. Tiffany's looking at BBBY, which is incredible today. AMC and Z as well. Secondary list, OCGN and Tesla for her. Thor is looking at Z, AMD, Neo, Apple. Secondary list, PFE, AMC, and BBBY as well. Brian likes OCGN this morning, which is very, very explosive, hitting all-time highs there. Apple, Lyft, Z, ATVI, and also LAC as well. Jared likes BBBY, AMC, and Z, and then we're looking at secondary list MC, HGG, Tesla for his secondary list there. Dima likes Apple, BBBY, and AMD. John this morning looking at GameStop and BBBY as his 2 top lists there. IPOs for today, Peter, we have a couple on here, a couple of SPACs as well, but your list is going to be AMD, BBBY, Apple, and secondary list ATBI, Z, and also Lyft as well. So that is our moderators lineup, guys. Hope everyone has an amazing day over on YouTube. We're going to continue here in our chat room. If you'd like to try us out, you know how to do that. There's some links there in the chat that you can check us out for a week, get access to the chat room. And we'd love to have you, see what the environment's like. We had a couple of new members in this morning. Thank you guys for joining us. Welcome to all of you who said hi there that are new to the community. If there's any questions, you got a support tab there. We'll be monitoring that. We can help you out. You can see moderators like, members like contributor badges here that are helping us out answer some questions. So appreciate that very much. Thank you, guys. All right. With that said, over on YouTube, take care, guys. Stay safe. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already. Make sure to subscribe if it's your first time here. And we will see you tomorrow is Thursday. We will see you at 8 a.m. in the morning. Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.